And it looks like we're live. Hello, everybody. Oh, I should mute myself before the start. There we go. Otherwise, I hear myself. So, welcome back to yet another Hangout. As you know, last time we did some Mr. Thrive and Survive stuff, and I think we're going to do the same today. He uploaded a video a few days ago, like 3 or 4 days ago, challenging Kent Hovind to a debate, which is like the weirdest crossover in the last 2 decades, except for maybe the Simpsons guy. We're going to take a look at this video where Kent Hovind actually, where Mr. Thrive and Survive actually challenges Kent Hovind to explain some stuff about the round Earth model and asks him some questions. So we're going to answer those here.
Well, can I say something to start off? Hey, this is to you, Rich. I know you're a liar, and I know you're pretty much a coward, but what happened to all the responses from other people accepting your challenge to debate? Why have you run away from them? Like Red, like Sly, and how many others of us have said, oh, you want to debate? Sure, we'll do it. But
there's something I don't think I've told you, but I was actually the first person that was recommended to debate against him. If you check his live stream where he announced that he would debate Globus, I was the first one mentioned in the side chat.
Yeah, and again, has he even attempted?
I don't think he has. I had some correspondence with him, like maybe 2 months ago, where he said that maybe he would come back to me at mid-August. It's now the 1st of September, but don't think there's anything that's going to happen. But whatever, we can debunk him anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let me share.
Let's debunk you, late. Come on.
Yeah. Give me a second. There we go.
Mute the first part, please.
By the way, the video is called Kent Hovind Challenge Part 1. I had hoped that he had uploaded another one until today, but unfortunately we only got one. So let's try this.
Blessing in disguise.
This intro was filmed live from the top of a mountain.
Guten Tag, everyone. Mr. Thrive and Survive, August 29th, 2018. Although this video is directly stated to go to Dr. Kent Hovind, this is really to anybody.
Doctor.
Stop.
He's actually dumb enough to call him doctor.
I was about to say the same thing. For those who don't know, Kent Hovind's thesis in air quotes is actually public. It's on WikiLeaks. You can check it out. It's hilarious.
Hello, my name is Kent Hovind.
Yes, it starts with my name is Kent Hovind. It doesn't have a page.
It starts with hello.
Oh yeah, hello, my name is Kent Hovind.
Oh my god, I forgot about that detail.
It doesn't have page numbers. It doesn't contain quotations. It doesn't contain any sources except for my holy book.
And if I remember correctly, there's a bunch of like chapters that he never got around to actually writing, so it's just like blank at the end.
I don't think that's the case. It contains grammatical errors, spelling errors, that kind of thing.
It contains
the language is a bit childish. I mean,
it contains one of the best, and I've used best as in funniest arguments I've ever heard against evolution. The fact that Darwin's grandfather was so fat they had to cut in like a semicircle into the table for him to sit down. He uses that as an argument. I'm not sure how it works, but he uses it.
Maybe we should like read it in a future hangout from start to finish.
There's already someone. Oh fuck! What's his name? There's someone who goes through it already and reads it.
Logic.
Logic.
No. Logic doesn't go through and read it. He debunks the video.
Oh,
it's Paul something. I think.
Paul on the. No, I was about to say Paul on the plane.
Apology. Yeah, I was going to say apology.
Yeah.
Fuck, I can't remember him.
All right, then we'll have to find something about fucking Hovind, but whatever. So let's continue actually, because we haven't heard like anything yet.
who wants to use any kind of common sense. What he has done is he has put out a challenge. Now let me go ahead and show you here exactly what that is. Now what Kent has done here is he has stated he will challenge or debate anyone as long as they have any one of these three conditions right here. Now you can read 1 and 2 here, which is pretty much just fairness. But number 3 is he wants flat earthers to clearly define their position and exactly which map and model that they are defending.
Pause.
The model.
I take issue with number 2 here. Because when has Kent ever stayed on a single topic during any one of his discussions or debates?
Yeah, he always uses multi-threaded segues. It's really annoying. The question is, does he do that specifically to keep his audience from thinking, or is it just his way of rambling?
Well, I think it's a way of dish galloping, honestly.
Well, if you can't get them with brilliance, dazzle them with bullshit.
Well, but that's all he does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Apparently he raided Milton Jones's closet.
Whose closet?
Milton Jones,
the comedian.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I know you mean. Yeah, it's really sharp jokes. Yes, yeah, you're right. You're right. It is. Milton Jones is a top there.
Come on, there's only one decent stand-up comedian from England. That's
No,
Ricky.
there's a lot.
That's only one man.
We have quite a lot, actually.
Sorry?
We have a lot.
Yeah, and some of them are really, really good.
I can only remember Ricky. But,
Well,
maybe I should go YouTubing. No, Netflixing some more, maybe.
Ricky Gervais.
The one like I don't know if it's British, but the one English-speaking comedian that I really like is Jim Jeffries. I think he's English, isn't he?
There's the let's see, Scottish or Irish pub owner. Can't remember his name though.
He's Australian.
he built-
Okay, there we go. Okay, let's continue.
Was everything put together, cosmology, if you will. Kent, I will actually meet you with your challenge debate, whatever you want to do, as long as you accept the exact same conditions. No problem with 1 and 2. You just have to do what you're asking us to do first. And remember, you've got space agencies and other science agencies that get $400 billion combined a year in funding.
Stop. It's the old argument again of we don't have ready to make a model because we don't have the funding to check our models, right? We've heard that like a few times now.
We shouldn't doing research, so we shouldn't have to.
It's not like what science companies earn. It's not like they earn much as well. Like NASA barely earn anything compared to like the U.S. federal budget. They always say, "Oh, NASA they get $52 million a year," but it's only like $9 per actual person living in the U.S. out of their taxes.
That's not really the point, though.
Yeah, science in general is chronically underfunded.
Yeah.
Isn't it
US,
always?
yeah.
But
IT departments at universities and public schools and so they're also always underfunded.
the thing is, like, sure, like if you wanted to do things to like most of the money from the space agencies goes to putting things into space and developing technology to put on satellites and stuff. Like the actual basic stuff to figure out the shape of the Earth doesn't take that much money.
No, it doesn't.
Or technology. Like it's pretty fucking easy.
That's right. You just need a P900 and you just look at the horizon, check an angle. Theodolite would do it. Hiring a theodolite at about $25, $30, $40 for a day, you could do it. You could work out the curve of the Earth yourself for about $40.
Exactly.
So it's not it doesn't require too much.
$52 million is barely anything compared to the U.S. federal budget.
but the USA is the richest country in the world. It dominates the economy. It's absolutely ridiculous to make it. The fact that it's not a very big fraction is still the NASA budget is still much bigger than presumably any other space budget around the world. I don't think even the Russians presumably would compare, even though
I do believe the Japanese space agency has a bigger budget than Russia.
What in absolute terms?
Russia is on a shoestring budget. They always have.
Yeah.
They have been.
Well, remember a few years ago when I think India launched a satellite into the orbit of Mars?
Yes.
And
they did it for $75 million, didn't they?
50 or 60 million euros.
Yeah.
That's almost nothing.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't believe that, G. I thinking, what the hell? Here we are, bloody in the 60s. Britain has been the only country in the world to have had a space program and then thrown it away. And then bloody India comes on for 60 million euros, whatever, managed to get to Mars. I think, what the hell are we playing at? Given the fact that we are, in this country, we're actually, I think only after the USA, we're the biggest satellite maker in the world. And we can't even get a bloody goddamn rocket to do what the bloody Indians have done. What the hell is going on? Anyway.
But,
it's absolute rubbish.
Well, here is a question for you, though, Rumpus. If you guys did have the program to do your own launches, where would the site be?
Well, actually, did you hear that we've just started? We're going to build a spaceport, actually, in Scotland, for the launch of satellites that go polar satellites. So,
okay, that makes sense.
But the ones but obviously what you're referring to is the fact we do have a place called British Guyana in South America, right next to the French Guyana, where all the Ariane stuff is launched from. So we do actually have a potential equatorial base.
Stop, Guyana. I think Guyana today is an independent country.
No, but there are smaller.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Micro. But okay, it's not a British colony. But if we would go over there and say, can we please, set up a satellite launching establishment now, I think they'd be very helpful to us. So they're very friendly with us.
Kazakhstan isn't part of Russia.
Indeed, like British soil somewhere in South America, which I don't think is the case anymore. At least,
you're right. Well, the Falklands.
I was about to say the Falklands, and maybe
it's a bit too far south.
I think also the Virgin Islands in the Caribbean, at least a part of them is still British.
Yeah, we've got Ascension Island as well, which is almost on the equator. But that's all a long way away, and obviously the industry around there. I think there are only a few thousand people on the Ascension Island, and so we obviously got lots of Caribbean places that are actually, the Bermuda and all those sorts of places, and we've got loads of colonies in the Caribbean which we could potentially use. Yes. They're actually not independent countries. They're actually overseas territories, and there's Kitts, for instance, Kitts and things, and Grenada. Oh, that's a part of the Commonwealth. That isn't an independent country. Yeah, we've got lots of overseas territories which are conceptually British. But I just cannot believe for India, as you say, Joe, 60 million euros. They bloody got to Mars. Jesus Christ! And here we are, languishing. Ugh, very annoying.
But Rumpus, let's be honest. British decisions have a track record of being fucked.
Yeah. I really wonder why on earth the British UK Space Agency decides to design or launch their own satellite navigation system. Why the hell do you want to do that?
Because we've been kicked out of the Galileo's thing, even though we're actually paying 1/3 of it and bloody designed all the bloody satellites. Apparently,
whose fault is that?
Everybody has access to Galileo, to GLONASS and GPS. Everybody has access to it.
Yeah, but not the security encrypted stuff, which is what we develop. The thing is, the thing the Europeans are trying to stop the British having access to is the stuff that we're actually making as part of the Galileo project. It's absolutely incredible. So we're going to have to go and build our bloody own for £2 billion, along with the New Zealanders and the Canadians and the Australians. I think.
Again, whose fault is that?
The Europeans. We built most of the bloody Galileo system, and they're being kicked out of it. So we're very, 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 very annoyed about that, given the fact that we supply much more intelligence to the rest of Europe. and then they're trying to kick us out of Galileo. It's only so there's going to it's going to really kick off because the Europe relies much more on us for security, intelligence, and things. Particularly as we are sort of bound in with the US, and we've got access to all the US intelligence, which none of the other European countries have. We are possibly the best placed for intelligence in the whole world. And the Europeans are trying to make it life difficult for us to help them out. And they are the ones that are going to suffer, not us. But anyway, we'll just go and build our own bloody GPS system, which apparently we've made out of funds for. So there we go.
I may, the Rumpus, I may be mistaken here, but you seem a tad bit triggered on this subject.
Well, it is annoying when you
and I can understandably, but
when you design something. When you design something, and then the bloody Europeans come along and say, "Oh, sorry, no, you can't have access to all the software and the information that your system is actually generating, and we've paid for bloody doing this."
You decided to leave.
Yeah, but that's got nothing to do. Yeah, but the Europeans get loads of bloody security intelligence from us, and so we're entitled. It's not doesn't have to be part of the EU. We're more security conscious than the bloody rest of the Europeans. So to keep us out of this bloody thing, which we paid for we paid half for, it's bloody outrageous. It's in Galileo. The Galileo system has really characterised the whole European issue.
Okay, more garbage.
Yeah,
more garbage.
And more or less have gotten that for a very long time from the different governments. And you've got the peoples of the earth, for the most part, demanding more. There's all kind of sites where people are demanding that we give more money to NASA and different things like that. So you've had all these billions and billions of dollars. And according to you all, thousands of years that we believe the globe. So you've had all that time to make up your model and spend all that money. And yet, let me show you just a few things. We're going to start with the moon here. That just don't make sense.
Stop. So what's going to happen now is he is going to show some flaws with the globe model that he thinks are an issue. And we're just going to go through every one of them and pretty much tear them apart.
Well, just remember, this is coming from a self-taught meteorologist.
Oh, dear.
And they're not really flaws, they're just really his own misunderstandings.
Yes. Well, let's not forget he's a doctor.
Wait, Hovind or MrThriveAndSurvive?
Oh, bloody hell, Micro's gone before I was going to ask him when he's going to when Denmark.
He'll be back.
Oh, right, okay. Because bloody Denmark could be off. Oh, there he is. I was going to ask him.
That was weird.
Micro, when is Denmark leaving the EU? When are you going to follow on our steps, by the way? Give me.
We're not.
Yeah, Micro. When are you going to follow their steps?
Okay, Micro, here's a choice. Either leave the European Union or get integrated into Germany. Which one would you prefer?
Ooh.
Wait, okay, neither?
If I had to choose, and the Rumpus, by the way, I'm Danish too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
For noticing? Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Bo is. Sorry, that Bo is.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
If I were, what do you call it? If I had to choose, I would actually choose to join Germany.
Yes.
Oh my God.
For what? There's.
Rejoin.
I would hate using
not rejoin.
The euros. I would hate using euros, but I do like the language. It sounds kind of sexy.
What, German?
Grammar is much easier.
What, English?
No, German as opposed to Danish.
So you want to join Germany because you want to speak German? Is that right?
No, I would rather choose to move to Germany than leave the EU.
My God.
But I do hate, with a passion, many aspects of the EU. I mean, some of the most stupid regulations coming out of there. I mean, many years ago, cucumbers, supermarkets weren't allowed to sell cucumbers if they had a certain amount of bend to them.
Yeah, I know. They would destroy perfectly good cucumbers because they have
So, but hold on, Bo. So, Bo, why do you love being inside the EU so much so that you would leave Denmark for it?
I wouldn't. I said if I absolutely had to.
Yeah, I know. So if the decision was remaining in Denmark, remaining in the EU, you choose the EU. That sounds quite you really are. That sounds like you're a EU fetishist.
No.
Also, I looked it up. The cucumber thing is a myth.
Is it really?
Yes.
What?
No.
No
That
way.
can't be.
That's what I found if I looked up cucumber, EU cucumber.
Well, you'll probably find they were going to do it, and then there was an outrage or something.
I think let's guys, let's put all the EU stuff. Let's just push that back a little bit and continue with Hovind and Mr. Thrive and Survive first. We can talk EU later, I think. So more garbage.
Now here is your model. What your model says: the moon goes around the Earth. The Earth spins west to east, and here's the moon. It's pretty much in this one area, and
it's not that big.
Moonrise.
Okay, so we all agree that this model is not to scale. Obviously,
not to scale.
It looks like more than 5 degrees of tilt. The Earth and the moon are way too close together, and the size could be approximately correct. No, I think the moon is even smaller, isn't it?
No, I think that's about.
No, the moon's a bit bigger than it should be.
Yeah, I mean, here in this drawing, the moon is a little bit too big.
I think you'd be surprised. Actually, that's not...
It's about 1 to 3.7 in terms of diameter.
Who was it that made I think it was Scott Manley. We should try and find that video. Scott Manley made a video slicing, where he sliced the Earth in half. He rotated it, and he overlaid them, so you could see how much he was actually out of alignment. I think it was Scott Manley. Of course, my memory constantly messes with me. So.
Right, so the moon is 27% the size, I presume, the diameter.
27, yeah.
27% the diameter of the Earth. So I don't think that's far off what you got there.
No, that's a little bit too big.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Well, it's one.
I think that's closer to half, actually.
Whatever.
No, it looks about. Let me take a screen. Okay, while you're doing that, I'll do a screen grab and get back to you.
And moon set when it's full, pretty much opposite of the sun, correct? One other way to look at it is this right here. Again, the moon is let's use the full moon example. The person spins around, they see the moon rise. It's moving, according to everybody, from the August eclipse of 2017. It would cause the eclipse always to move west to east, because that's obviously what it's doing. Until you find an eclipse that moves east to west, and then mum's the word. Nobody wants to even talk about that.
Stop. Eclipses that move east to west are possible under one specific set of circumstances, and that's very rare. It happens when the shadow of the moon. I think I actually have a video on my channel that shows this.
See, when it's going near the poles or something.
Yeah. Give me a second. So I'll just post the link in the side chat as soon as I find it. I think it's private, or at least unpublished. No, I uploaded this for Riley once. He wanted a simulation in Celestia.
Oh, so you're sending private videos to Riley, are you?
Fuck you, Micro.
You ran into that one.
Yeah.
I know.
Exchanging a sex toy.
No,
fantasy.
Stop it right there. Stop it. There we go. I found it.
Yeah.
So the video title is called Eclipse in Russia, 22nd of September 1968. I just post the link in the side chat. So it's a public side check. And here's the internal one. And you can see it was a simulation in Celestia. If you actually check the eclipse in Wikipedia, because I think 68. You can actually see that.
What did you do this in again? Sorry, not Stellarium. You did it in
Celestia.
Celestia. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I don't have that right. Okay.
Yeah, you can see that the path of the solar eclipse starts in northern Siberia, then actually wanders west while going south, and then wanders east again. And the reason is that the shadow of the moon is actually just touching the Earth, seen from this side on the edge. So the umbra is just barely reaching the Earth.
Right.
Almost missing it, and this causes that. But this is very rare.
Right.
And you can actually, if you want to simulate this in Celestia, you can see why exactly that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, do we want to go into the geometry of why it seems to go to a lot of flat earthers seem to think that the eclipse is going in the wrong direction, the movement of the penumbra.
No, I don't think we have to debunk this again.
Okay.
Slice by Kane has actually simulated it in his channel.
Okay.
So there's no reason to do this anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
by the way, if you
yeah,
want
he
to know,
he did a good job, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Well, he usually does.
He does.
There we go.
Okay, so let's go.
But that's the story for another time. Anyway, I want you to notice this timestamp at 6 p.m. This is going to make sense here in a sec. Alrighty, we're going to take a look at this right here.
Yes,
the orientation may be slightly different where you are when the moon rises, depending on your location on the Earth. But this pretty much follows.
I wonder why.
So we have this spot we're going to take a look at, and we're going to look at how this rotates through the night, which is not accounted for in your model, Kent. It's just not accounted for.
Okay, first of all,
no.
First of all, it's not Kent's model. Like Kent didn't come up with this model.
Second of all,
Kent has never produced anything of value.
Second of all, this is not only the front side of the moon. This picture cannot be taken from Earth. Do you see that?
Yeah, I was going to say that too. That the face of the moon that's there on the bottom left.
Yes, it doesn't match up. This is actually like the.
Are you sure?
Hemisphere? Yes, I'm sure. Usually,
because it does rotate. Of course, it does rotate.
Yes, it does rotate, but you always see the same side from the Earth.
Correct. Obviously. Well,
this crater, which is called Mare Imbrium, is pretty much pretty much in the center of the side of the sphere that we can see.
And a good simple Google search for pictures of the moon will see people pictures that people have taken themselves, and you can see it doesn't match up. Unless you find one of the images that has been taken on these so-called.
So where the hell did we get this picture from then?
Yeah,
satellite.
That's something that MrThriveAndSurvive should answer. I mean, it's his source.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Health, so do you want to join? Just send him the link.
Oh, hello to Conspiracy Cats, by the way. Great video, I thought, with your thing on Nathan.
Yeah. Conspiracy Cats.
Yeah, Conspiracy Cats. I was talking about.
He made a video on who?
On Nathan Oakley. He made
Who?
Oh right, okay. Well, you on someone who who's a childlike mind who doesn't understand how to convert meters into kilometers.
Wait, you mean he beats himself?
Oh yeah.
But I missed that marker.
I think the right word for this is beating off, but whatever.
Yeah. But Gil, we could find out in terms of the moon, if we could get a clean enough picture of the moon from that video, we just screen grab and do a Google image search.
Inverse Google search. Yeah, I mean we could, but whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't really affect the argument we're having here, does it? Really? But,
no, it doesn't.
This is going to end up down here by the time we get to 6 a.m. So let's go ahead and show that 6 p.m. It starts up here, and it starts to rotate down. Midnight, 6 a.m. What do we end up with? Take a look at that.
It didn't end up where you said it was going to end up, but whatever.
Get off your round, well-fed, plump behind and take a look. Go out there. Let me back this up for you. Go out.
Stop. I think that's enough. I think I actually hosted 2 Hangouts before dealing with this. Maybe. So for those who don't understand why MrThriveAndSurvive is wrong on this one, let me fire up Stellarium. So I have to share.
What's the name of the crater that's right at the bottom there? The most prominent crater on the moon, the little one with lots of radiating filaments coming out of it, radials.
Aristarchus. Do not bring that one up.
No, I wasn't going to mention that. It's not Aristarchus. It's not that, fortunately. What's it called?
Is that one Tuco?
Yes, I think it might. Tycho.
Well,
yeah, I think it's Tycho. Yeah.
No, Tycho.
Yeah.
What were you
CHL?
Because he was
Danish.
He was Danish. Yeah, that's right.
And his last name is not Brahe or Brahe. It's Bra.
Oh God.
But then again, to be fair, he was from a time where Danish people didn't speak the language we do now.
It was almost the same. Besides, we speak that now, and if he was alive today and was Danish, that's how you would pronounce his name.
Yeah, but he wasn't.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's not. All right, he wasn't then. He's there. He was then, not now. I bet he said Tycho.
Well, actually, that is a Latinization of his actual name,
Right.
which was Tu.
Right.
Okay, so I found the last full moon, which was on the 26th of August. Let's go back to moonrise. So there it is.
Yep.
Equatorial coordinate grid and azimuthal coordinate grid. So for those who don't know this yet, the blue coordinate grid is actually aligned to the axis of the planet, and the green one is aligned to the observer. So the green one means that directly overhead is the center of the coordinate system. And those two coordinate grids are obviously tilted by the latitude of the observer, which is in my case 50 degrees or so north. So there should be 40.
He was doxing himself.
Oh no. 1, 2, 50, 60. Yeah, exactly. 40 degrees difference. Yeah, 40 degrees approximately. Okay, so let's zoom in on the moon and follow it through the night. So I can center on this object, and then I'll just increase the speed of time a little bit. So as you can see, whoa.
Yeah, you can do it pulling back a bit.
As you can see, it appears to be rotating.
Yeah.
Now, and obviously this will continue through the entire night. Let's just run this until it will go back under the horizon.
Because we're maintaining our position relative, we're still looking at the same line on the ground in Stellarium here, aren't we? We're maintaining, yeah. So given that the thing is, this is rotating around. So I mean, if you imagine it's to the left of you and it goes to the right of you, it's got to turn by 180 degrees. If you could see it the first thing at 6 a.m. in the morning, and then come 6 p.m. at night, it must have rotated by no, sorry, 6 a.m. to
so as you can see, if I go back,
yes,
you can see that it's turning. Now, guess what happens when we actually change the coordinate grid? That means that I'm switching the telescope that I'm using from the azimuthal mount that I'm using now, moving up, down, right, and left, to the coordinate grid is actually aligned with the center or with the axis of the planet. So I can do this with one button. Zoom in on this again, and then let's run it again. So center on this object, and then increase the speed of time. As you can see, relative to that coordinate system, it's not rotating. And this is pretty much what MrThriveAndSurvive isn't understanding. The apparent rotation is caused by the fact that those coordinate systems are not identical.
And the reason those aren't identical is a direct result of the Earth being curved. Because if you still see the moon at the horizon, in this grid, you'll see that the Earth is slanted in relation to it because it's aligned with the axis of the planet and not the axis of wherever you happen to be standing.
Yes. Also, you can actually see that the moon in this coordinate system, or in general, is not rotating in respect to the background stars, right? We have got a background star over here, and the moon, you can see it's not rotating relative to it. This can actually be done in both coordinate systems. So if you now change to this, position on the moon again.
Because looks like the moon, the whole star's doing this 180-degree rotation.
Exactly.
As well.
The entire sky is doing this. So
everything rotates around you because you're rotating.
Yeah, as you can see, this star is now currently pretty much directly below the moon. Let's just stop time right here and go in 1 hour steps. You can see that. Center on this.
They should invert, shouldn't they?
They're just doing the same thing here.
Shouldn't they flip over one another if they're below at the in the morning, and then they should end up being above? In other words, they should be below. The star would be. But if you caught it at 6 a.m. in the morning and the star was below the moon,
there
then
we go.
in the evening you should have the star above it by the evening, 6 p.m. shouldn't you?
Actually, let's go by this one because it's clearer. It's closer to the moon.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's right. Actually, rotate.
I would like to have a star directly. Ah, there we go. This is. Well, it's a little bit annoying because the moon itself has also this movement, right? It's moving.
That's the screwing things up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking it up a little bit, but you can see that this position is actually stationary pretty much to the background stars, at least in a good approximation. So this is what Mr. Thrive and Survive is not understanding.
Well, one of the many things you don't understand.
Hey, Hellsoy, by the way.
Hey, Hellsoy.
Hello.
So let's see. Full screen mode. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, if you kept looking at the same part of the sky and the same angle, you maintained your angle, it wouldn't move around very much. But unfortunately, as the Earth is changing, you look at things with respect to where the horizon is, and your horizon moves.
The entire thing is called field rotation.
Right.
You can also see this, for example, when you take a look at the plane that's directly flying overhead. Right, when it's getting closer to your position, it looks like it's flying upwards, and as soon as it's directly overhead and then flies away from you, it will look as if it's flying downwards.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the same thing, and he doesn't apparently understand this. More garbage?
There at 6 p.m. and go ahead and watch it. Go out several times. Go out at midnight.
Nothing.
Stop. Nothing in the globe model can explain this rotation. You need to defend this before a debate.
Okay.
We've
just did.
shown, we've just shown that you're wrong on this one. And I hope that Hovind is intelligent enough to actually understand this.
You have high hopes.
Well, no, actually, I beg to differ. To be honest, Kent Hovind might be more intelligent than people think. Intelligent does not mean knowledgeable.
Considering that we don't think he's that intelligent, to begin with, that's not saying
he wouldn't have to do very much to improve. We'd only have to go to a physics class for teenagers to jump.
I mean, he was stupid enough. Of course, we don't know his true motives and thinking, but he was stupid enough to get caught in tax evasion. And
the thing is, these people want
totally innocent.
These people, when you want to believe something to be true, unfortunately, I think you're prepared to compromise a lot of the things, your normal logical reasoning, and you're prepared to simply not even think about it. You just want to believe something so much, you just don't engage your reasoning on it, and therefore.
Well, yeah, I can testify that because most of my closest family are Salvation Army officers, the equivalent of priests, not that kind of priest, but
well, they are not touching children.
Not Catholic, no, not Catholic kind of priest. And I see it all the time. I know many, some of my closer family are, and I'm not just blowing my own horn here, but are sufficiently intelligent. Except when it comes to their faith,
it handicaps them.
They more or less switch off that part of the brain. Yeah, that reasoning and not natural. What do you call it? Unbiased,
objective analysis.
Yeah, they switch that off completely. As Ken Ham says, God glasses. They put on their God glasses.
That's right, because when they have, I mean, old Ken Ham specifically said that when he gets a conflict between science and evidence and reality versus what the Bible says, he goes with the Bible. So there's no evidence you can present to him, because where he sees there's a conflict, he will always go with the Bible. And if you have that line, you're prepared to abandon logic, reason, evidence, and physics and maths and everything to what says in the book, and you're prepared to abandon those things, then there's no way you can tackle these people, because our tools we've got to convince people are logic, evidence, reason, maths, etc., etc., etc. And if they're prepared to reject those weapons in our armory, they've got a shield of stupidity or delusion, you're stuck.
Yeah, and Ken Ham destroyed himself. Sorry?
This entire thing of God glasses is pretty much his admission to having confirmation bias.
Yeah, and he's enough of an idiot, not moron, but asshole, to blatantly show his closed-mindedness. For example, in the Ken Ham vs. Bill Nye debate, there is nothing that can convince me. I'm paraphrasing, but there is nothing that can convince me otherwise. Yeah, you
see, I have this book
massively, and you showed the whole world that you lost massively. I mean,
if there's a conflict between their book and the reasoning and evidence, etc., 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 they will always go with the book.
Mm-hmm. That their interpretation of the book.
yeah, that's true. Whatever.
Actually, in my opinion. Yeah. Okay, let's continue.
Anyway,
so globe model problem number 1 pretty much done.
I just want to say, I mean, to offer this as an argument, I just suggest the low level that this guy is at, isn't it? I mean, this is so easy to refute. I mean, any tiny bit of research on this guy's part in investigating the movement of the moon would have revealed what's going on. And it's such a simple explanation that he would have. I mean, he's capable of understanding, I think, that he's wrong. But the fact that he hasn't bothered to investigate or dealt with these criticisms means that he's really the low level detritus of a proponent of his position. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I mean, something else that's kind of telling is that he didn't actually go out and take any pictures of the moon to show this rotation. It's like he went. I think he went to. This looks to me a lot like the Google Earth, except the moon one. So I guess Google Moon, and basically just put it above a spot and just rotated it.
No, I don't think that's the case. The Google Earth and Moon thing looks like more jigsawish. It looks like a puppet.
But
maybe
in any case,
he just got an image.
In any case, he didn't take pictures.
So what was that, Blue? Young?
Maybe he just took an image from like Google or something.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he just took any picture from Google. But it's not the
weird
Google
one he's picked though. This one, as you say, the Tycho crater is indeed in the wrong spot. You can't.
It's not that crater. It's just one that looks similar.
Yeah.
Well, the one at the bottom left, that's Tycho, isn't it? The one at the bottom left, we can see.
No.
Okay, so let's check this. So there we go.
No, Tycho's like.
That's the Google Moon. Here we got the biggest crater on the top left, Mare Imbrium. But yeah, this one is called. And
it's not a crater, but whatever.
Yeah, well, it is still a crater. It was just filled with lava afterwards.
Is it Tycho? You just confirmed that this is Tycho. This one I'm going.
Tycho is this.
Tycho is that one there.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. And if you in the picture we just had up, it was at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen.
I think my Google Earth just froze.
Well, it is very cold in space.
Fuck you.
Well, not necessarily. If you've got the sun shining on you, it's quite warm. But at the bottom of the
there was a joke.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, Micro.
So this
You've been in
is more
too
or less
many flat Earth hangouts, man.
Actually, this is more or less the view that he has.
Yeah, exactly. See Tycho at the bottom.
Tycho's over here.
Which is not where you can get it. You know, you never see that from the Earth.
Yep. So this is not a picture taken from the planet.
Most likely a satellite image.
Most likely, yes. More garbage.
Or garbage.
Yeah, why not?
Sure, why not?
Get up early, 6 a.m. or whatever, just before 6 a.m. Go out and take a look, and you'll find that it's rotated down there. Full moon night. Explain that one, Kent. Everybody knows I can't draw, and I don't have any kind of professional drawing programs or anything on my computer. But the moon, if it's reflecting sunlight, should have darker edges. Again, I'm not a good artist, and I just had to fudge this here. And it should be brighter, especially as we head towards the center. Even a picture of a basketball, if you look at this right, it's brighter here. And as you get towards the edges, it's not.
That's not a picture of a basketball.
See this with the moon.
Oh my god!
That's a cutout of a basketball with all the black parts removed and then pasted over the Earth for some reason.
What even is that?
No, it's
literally just a blue marble shot and.
Yeah, and a basketball with all of the dark parts removed. Like, what the hell is that? Why not just show a basketball?
My Photoshop eyes are bleeding right now.
Yeah. What do you mean Photoshop? You obviously used paint.
What? Hey, just take your Corel Draw glasses on. That will change.
Even using paint, you get better results than that.
Oh, is that a challenge, Hellsoy?
Oh no.
Okay, Okay, you can get better results. You won't necessarily. You can also do this and make it look that crappy in Photoshop. The point is,
I mean, if you want to, I can show you some ridiculously amazing images done in Paint. Right? I think we've all seen those.
Yep. By the way, kudos to those people.
Yeah, that's like a certain time investment that I'm not even remotely interested in.
I mean, there's something what he says that if you were looking at something face on, I'm not quite sure how this works. But if you're looking at a new moon where the sun's behind you, there should, for any unit, I'm not sure about the maths now. What you would expect the brighter bits would the bits to the edge be less dark, less bright? I think they would.
Well, there's two things that he's forgetting. First of all, the actual size of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only shining directly head on; it's also coming a little bit, at least from the side, which is going to make that effect that he's expecting a little bit smaller.
Also, I'm gonna hazard a guess and say that basketball was probably lit by what is effectively a point light source.
Yes, and the sun is not.
Yes. That is the important difference here.
I don't. So that seems to be a common misconception in all the objections with how light is supposed to work and whatnot. They're forgetting that they need to do an internal critique, right? And the internally consistent version is that we're much smaller than the origin of the light, which is why it's a uniform light across every surface. Or you can essentially say that it's parallel rays from an infinite source of light.
Well, actually, you can sometimes, but the sun does have size. I mean, it's 0.5 degrees, and you can, the mere fact that you can see the top and the bottom means that it's not actually parallel. It's a separation of 0.5 degrees between the rays from the top of the sun to the bottom of the sun to you, and that's why you get penumbras and numbers when you have on a shadow of something.
Like
if it was a point,
you can assume.
So yeah, for a lot of the cases you can assume it's parallel, but in fact it's not. I mean,
no.
So you can't. So it is wrong actually to say that light. It depends on what you're doing, but most of the time, well, I don't know. It's not parallel, unfortunately, but it can be considered such for certain arguments. But you've got to be careful. Because, I mean, the mere fact we has a size means a 0.5 degree size, angular size, means that you're getting rays at 0.5 degree differences, which are then not parallel. So, top of the sun.
I can actually just show my screen for one moment.
Sure. Wait a second. Yep, you're being shared.
Okay, so brightest portion, and it kind of tapers off a little bit. Very close to the terminator. Mm-hmm. You see here it's slightly grayer, and then it cuts off. This is what you get from a large distant light source instead of a small local one, in which case the hotspot thing would be much more towards the actual
right. But he's looking at new moon, where we've got a side elevation here, but he was showing a picture of a new moon, I think was his argument, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying this is what the
sorry, full moon. Sorry, not new moon. Sorry, full moon.
At the full moon, you also won't be able to see the shadows of whatever valleys are being lit by the sun from one side. So you're not going to see the shadows whatsoever because they are.
You're only going to see the things that actually reflect back to you.
Oh, you can see shadow. No, so you're absolutely right. Actually,
not during full moon.
Yeah, you can only see the items that reflect light back to you. You can't see shadows when you look straight onto some.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yes, you're absolutely right, June.
More garbage?
More garbage.
The Earth, from what NASA says, are pictures of the Earth. Well, take a look at this one here. We've got darkness around the edges. People say, well, that's where the Terminator line is going to start. But you can actually see the way they've done this. It's darker around all the edges and brighter as you get towards the middle. In fact, check this out. You have this nice bright spot that they have.
I can easily explain that.
That's called albedo.
Yeah, that's because water is a heck of a lot more reflective, than the moon's surface. The moon is basically like asphalt, called it.
Yeah, it's 5%. I think, is it 5% or
no?
Something like that,
on average, the moon is between 0.11 and 0.13.
And the moon reflects
also forgetting something else.
diffusely as well.
Exactly. The
So
reflection
it's
that's
not-
happening on the surface of the moon is diffuse. Whatever light hits the moon will be reflected in all directions.
Yeah.
This is not the case with water. Water will reflect
Not to mention
to a
clouds.
certain degree like a mirror.
Yeah, not to mention clouds.
The exact phenomenon we can see on the screen here right now is something that you can easily see yourself with your own eyes. In the morning, as long as the sun is high enough on the sky and there's dew on the grass, for example, and you you turn your back to the sun and look straight down in the same along the same angle as the sun. In other words, look at your own head shadow on the grass, and you'll see that what would you call it? That reflect a mass of
highlight.
Yeah, you actually see it, the hotspot.
So concrete or asphalt is essentially the same as the moon when we're talking about albedo. So
Yes.
it's really simple.
Between
you shine a light,
like 7% or so average albedo on the moon.
11 or 11 or 13,
11%,
between 11 and 13, as far as I know, anyway. And the Earth is like 70 something, or 0.7
because of all
something.
its ice caps and water and
and cloud
clouds.
coverage.
Yeah, much
So
brighter.
average
really
albedo of the moon is 0.12.
Yeah, so between 11 and 13, like so.
But the only reason why the moon actually looks bright is because it's the brightest thing in the sky when it's dark.
It's
Yes,
proximity
it's
as well.
It's a contrast. It's a
contrast ratio between.
And then it's a high contrast coupled with the fact that when you see it at night, you are seeing it with your raw sensitive.
Which also keep in mind, this is going back to one of those people on the retarded channel saying like why. Well, you'll know which one I mean. So when the claim was, well, it's kind of mysterious that you can't see the moon right before an eclipse, right? Or a solar eclipse. But no, that's because now it is highly uniform with the background because it is entirely engulfed in shadows, meaning you can't make it out with your naked eye. That is the exact opposite of this, right? In this case, it's highly reflective and highly contrasted against the background. But when it's in between us and the sun, it's highly uniform with the background because it's so dark.
I mean, the sun is a very bright thing, so trying to see anything close to the sun near an eclipse is quite tricky because this very, very bright thing is dominating your vision and causing you to sort of reduce your, certainly from a visual human adjusting the size of their pupil, obviously it's going to reduce the amount of light coming in.
Yeah, but hey, exposure differences is a NASA lie. We all know this.
Right, exposure is a lie.
It's true.
Exposure, NASA construction. Glare, another one. And the glare is NASA construction.
Can you guys imagine how bright the full moon would be if we replaced our moon with something that had the albedo, for example, of Europa?
Yeah.
We would essentially never have.
That would be
night.
absolutely crazy.
It would be interesting to see the effect of like if we had it all the time, the effect of life, because it would effectively mean that you could probably have some kind of photosynthesis.
Yeah.
I don't think so, Micro. It's still like only effect of like 5 or 6, and it's still orders of magnitude less than the sun has, like a few orders of magnitude actually.
I actually
Life would probably
found
adapt to photosynthesize to the sun's light and the reflected light of Europa as well.
Well, you would you could imagine if it's bright enough that you could have some kind of reasonable photosynthesis. You could imagine that you would get a split where you have plants that are adapted to a night niche and plants that are adapted to a day niche.
Yeah.
I actually took a gander in Space Engine. I don't think I bookmarked it, but I took a gander just clicking random stars in Space Engine a while back, and actually got to a solar system where one of the close planets, it was uninhabitable, of course, because it was so close. It was essentially just a scorched surface, but it actually had a highly reflective moon orbiting. So, and the orbital period of the moon was slow enough compared to the rotational velocity of the planet that it essentially never had night. That was pretty cool, and it was constant auroras on it as well. It kind of sucks I didn't actually bookmark that.
Except for the constant auroras, that would be one of a hell of a place to be. It would suck. You wouldn't be able to sleep. Well, you
would also, like anything that involves on a planet like that would obviously
be used to it.
Yeah, be used to it.
I mean, the same thing with a ring, right? If Earth had a ring, we would probably constantly be seeing it, even during night.
Yeah,
part of it would be illuminated all the time.
Would be fucking awesome,
if the Earth had a ring,
though.
flat Earth wouldn't exist.
Well, we also wouldn't have like our space program wouldn't be nearly as advanced because we would have to constantly be avoiding the ring to get anything into orbit.
Yeah.
Fuck that. We would be more advanced. Fucking space lasers to shoot down the rocks, bro.
I think but hold on, we can avoid the ones in Saturn. I'm sure we could have dodged any little ring the Earth had.
Yeah, but if you want it would still be more difficult.
Well, you just avoid. Presumably, you'd be going around the equator, I suppose. But you
wouldn't have to, Mike. You wouldn't have to, Rumpus, because even if you were in a polar orbit, you would still have to cross the plane of the rings twice every rotation.
Well, that's only if they're very wide.
On the
It shows an altitude you're showing these rings are constantly thick from low altitude to high altitude. You just pick an altitude that they're not at.
Well, yeah, if there's a gap in them, obviously you can cross them, but it would be harder.
Well, there probably wouldn't be a gap. At most, it would be one. Because
and even if there was a gap, the gap would probably be caused by a moon being in that.
Yes,
gap.
Exactly. So
yeah,
we would have
there are resonant things that cause moons actually from other distances. It's not. They don't have to be a moon actually in them. It's resonances with moons outside it. But anyway, Saturn's the only one with a pretty. I mean, even the Saturn has only got, was it about 10 meters high? Is most of the
10 meters
kilometers or so, I think.
No, it's meters.
It's
meters.
It's incredibly thin.
Yeah,
on a side view, it's practically invisible.
Yeah, and so all the other planets with rings like Uranus and Neptune, I mean, they've only got 6 or 7 baby ones. So, I mean, I'm sure we can have our own ring. It doesn't have to be a Saturn job.
Saturn job.
And as I say,
I want to put that into Pornhub just to see what I get.
I mean, Venus I get, but
okay, let's continue.
We should build artificial rings.
I'm wrong. Point of view is that indicates that it's a sphere, that it's a ball. You take this off and you don't darken the edges. Guess what? It doesn't look like a ball anymore. That's just the simple fact of it. And one other thing, Kent, in 1972, people say, well, they had to digitally enhance it, and it's from these little digital images that are created and they're changed. That might be an excuse today, but not in 1972 when we first got the blue marble, when they actually said they snapped a photograph of the Earth. The first one ever from space. And this is before digital anything was out there. In fact, you can go back to the Apollo moon landings and things like that. And when they had the timers on there, they were all analog. There was not even digital clocks back
then.
So stop. He must be aware that Apollo had a computer.
Yeah, well,
well, 3 computers, if I remember.
Yeah, well, whatever. But good luck running a computer on an analog clock as a clock giver.
Mm-hmm.
Some computers are analog, of course, but they can't run programs.
Well, that's not entirely true.
All right, okay. But there are
you could perceivably make a it can only run one program, the one you've built it to. That's still technically a program.
Yes,
that's what you do in Minecraft. When you build computers in Minecraft, they only do one thing.
Yeah, but that's hardwired though.
It's not software.
Isn't it?
It's still a program. You could also do it with punch cards.
Yeah, you could reprogram.
I mean, technically, you could were analog computers
Yeah, they did very simple things like solving differential equations or something.
Yeah, but it's still a program because you could program it using the.
You could change the resistor. Yeah, what you do is you change resistors or capacitors in it, and so it would then solve it. You'd actually put in different bits of hardware to make it do different things.
Well,
all the computers were weird.
Yeah, but analog. They were very fast at solving things, but they could only solve very simple mathematical equations, and you had to change them physically to make them do anything different. But what's he? But hold on, what's he going on? I don't quite understand the point of this. He's saying, what's he saying?
He's saying that
we've got analog pictures. So what if they're analog or digital from 1971? They weren't CGI'd. So what's the point?
No idea. But in general, he's saying that the moon is showing less of this sphericity or whatever you would call it in the pictures for whatever reason, right? When you take a look at the Earth, you can see that the shadows indicate that it's a sphere, and he's saying that for the moon, it's not doing that.
Though, of course, as we just saw from the side-on shot that whoever it was you put up, from the side, you can see all those lovely shadows showing that it's a sphere.
Yep.
And we also explained why there's a difference in this hotspot.
Yeah.
But this is line connive, so.
Let's continue.
Actual film. There was nothing to paste together back then, and yet we get these crazy things like that. Now, I won't get into how each one of these pictures doesn't match one another. Maybe that is another part. But these are questions you haven't been able to answer on your model, Ken.
So just about this entire thing, or this entire claim that the pictures don't match one another.
What the hell?
When it comes to the colors, well, obviously the cameras have different sensors or films that are like different in terms of how much light they have to gather to produce a certain chemical reaction.
Now I want to take a picture of like a chair every day with a different camera for like a week.
No, stick to the same camera. Just do it from different angles. Don't forget this thing's rotating. If you had
Rumpus, in this case, it's really about different cameras.
Yeah, because it's different cameras. That's the reason why you get difference in colors, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, we can't even get, whenever you see pictures of where they've stitched together lots of photographs of Mars, whatever, they change color then, even with the same goddamn camera. If you change position or in lighting situations, you get differences.
But,
I mean, the classic example was bloody Anthony Riley's video of the Isle of Man. As he moves around, the colours don't match because you've just got different exposure with different angles of what you're doing.
But in other words, according to flat Earth logic, if I do that with my earred chair, then that's evidence that the chair isn't real and that the photos I had someone paint a bunch of pictures of chairs.
Yeah, try taking a picture of your chair every hour or something with the same camera.
I'll make sure some of them are composites.
Yeah. Back when I was a kid, I took both black and white and color photos with my dad, and I developed it from the ground up. Everything I did it myself. You can even if you had two packets of film from the same company, the same model, but it's just two different batch numbers.
Yeah.
If you take pictures, one picture on one roll, one picture on the second roll, in the exact same situation, the lighting, the temperature, everything is exactly the same except for the two films. That itself is enough to produce two different looking photos.
Yeah.
Even if you get the developing solution perfectly the same as well. But even when you develop the stuff, you put it through chemicals and all that. Even if you leave it in the fixing solution, just for half a second longer than the other one, that will, in a black and white photo, for example, will make it a bit more yellowish in color. And back then, they did not have color correction. If they had a photo that was out of whack in terms of hue, saturation, and all that, the only way they could correct it was to take several photos of that photo, and then develop the whole thing again, developing a picture
of a picture.
They take a bunch of pictures of that photo that's wrong. Then they develop the negative again. They develop the one color positive, see what's wrong, and then they try tweaking some settings. I mean, timing settings. Then they develop one more, and they see what the difference is. Then they try to tweak it again and again and again, and finally they get the correctly corrected. A decent color correction. That's how it was done back then. So it can still happen, but it takes a lot of time. Trust me. I've tried it. It's a nightmare. You have to be very specific, very precise with your time measurements, your temperature, your chemical concentration, everything. You have to keep it. I mean, it's ridiculous. You need to be a narcissistic German engineer to be able to a perfectionist to get that stuff right. Unless you do it every single day.
Yeah, that's what I was going about to say. Even with the same camera, you get different results. So you don't even need, if you go to different cameras, then it's all bets are off.
Oh yeah.
So if my chair from IKEA does not count as a composite.
You ought to do that, Micro. That'd be quite amusing.
That one counts as compost.
That'd be a good experiment, Micro. Actually, if you've got a chair and a location.
Yeah, I might actually do that. Just to piss flatter for some.
I would watch that video.
Okay, let's continue.
And this is part of your model. Now, this is a very interesting one, Kent. This is question number 3. All you have to do is type.
Stop. Am I the only one who's actually surprised that ThriveAndSurvive has been able to count to 3?
Well, he's better than Gabe at that, isn't he?
True.
So we had 2 arguments so far, and both have been pretty easy to debunk. So let's see if third time's the charm for him. Again, I just want to remind you said that both problems were, problems for the globe model, and they apparently aren't.
Type in Google moonlight reflected sunlight. The moon shines because its surface reflects light from the sun. This is your model that you want to defend, Kent. Can you defend it? And despite the fact that it sometimes seems to shine very brightly, the moon reflects only between 3 and 12% of the sunlight that hits it. The perceived brightness of the moon from Earth depends on where the moon is in its orbit around the planet. Its orbit around the planet.
Stop.
Yep.
So he's laughing at the explanation for the phases of the moon?
Typical flat earth.
Hey, it sounds too simple, therefore fake.
Okay, so wait a second. So
he doesn't mean the phases of the moon. Surely he doesn't. He obviously just not understood that's what that's referring to. He must. He can't be that stupid.
Did somebody say reflecting light off a rock?
Here's the moon again at full moon. Let's go back 2 days or so.
I wonder. So just to go by Reddit and or using a meme, right? What if I told you that the only reason you can see things is because light reflects off of them?
No.
That's right. Light is actually invisible.
Dun, 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 dun.
Just in case he find it funny that rocks reflect light. What if I told you? Do you believe that's a light you're seeing now?
So what's it? I forgot what his point was now. What does he complain? Is his point about the change of the? Well, what it can only be concluded he's taking it literally, saying, "Hold on, the phrase." He's not realizing they're referring to the phases in there. Was he, or did he have some other point of his own as to invalidate this? I'm not quite sure.
What the fuck? Does somebody see the moon?
So yeah. So what's
fuck? We've lost the moon again.
Is he just?
It is, isn't it?
Is he just saying that quote's incompatible with what we see?
Oh, look at this. For some reason, I'm pretty sure that this shows that the brightness actually changes during the month.
Hey, Gio, if I could just present real quick.
Yeah, sure. Which one are you?
I'm the one with the picture. Dear Rich, if you're making the stereotypical argument of light doesn't reflect off of a rock, I call you to, this was in Quickies 5. I got challenged enough times that people would say that light doesn't reflect off a rock. I put a rock inside of a box, and I had the sunlight coming through a hole in the corner of the box, reflected it off of that rock, and casted a shadow. Job done.
That's a pretty great rock, Sly.
I mean,
that is the.
Oh, wait, hold on. We need to remember he's debating Kent Hovind. So can you make life come from that rock?
Oh God.
Oh Jesus.
Sly, the pure fact that you can see the rock is enough proof of this.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say
rocks do reflect light. They would be invisible.
Well, no.
Yeah.
You see, in flat Earth, you see things just because you see them.
Oh God, Riley claimed that he didn't think the photons went in the eye.
No, he thinks vision is an active process where you actually you actually have to emit something or you absorb something.
Just as Aristotle thought the same thing.
Exactly.
Aristotle thought that light actually emerged from or something came out of the eye into the things you see. And Riley was saying just the same thing. I mean, these people are just nuts.
But this is not uncommon. In the Middle Ages and earlier, actually, this was a common thing to think.
Well, yeah.
Hang on. When you have to prefix or put a prefix saying, "Well, in the Middle Ages, people believe this."
But here's the point. Flat Earthers haven't developed since then.
Well, presumably they thought that in the Middle Ages.
That's actually an accurate statement, really, considering we dropped that model.
Yeah, I mean, it was a common thing to think.
Yes,
that thing was actually an
but I suspect the cause of that was Aristotle.
Yes, a lot of the beliefs about there was a lot of. I mean, there was obviously a lot of things that changed from what we thought was true from the ancient Greeks. But a lot of it also stuck around in the Middle Ages. A lot of the beliefs.
I just noticed this is actually also part of our language in German. There's a synonym for going blind that is called das Augenlicht verlieren, which means losing the light of your eyes.
Right. Yes. Because I think
it's the derivative of this train of thought here.
It might be.
Because I think because everybody was religious, obviously, in the medieval period, and that you always regarded as the most valuable thing to be the oldest, and the flat earthers have this sort of attitude now. It's the oldest knowledge that's most important, the most historic, the most that's been around for longest. That's the most valuable, authentic knowledge. So the oldest version of the Bible is the most authentic one. Whereas, of course, we, sensible people, take the most recent knowledge, the most recent understanding of everything to be the most valuable and the most authentic.
To be honest, in the argument of the Bible, if it was able to be changed and everybody's cool with that, and it pretty much delegitimizes itself.
Yeah, but the point is that they did the same with science. So things like if Aristotle had been around for 1,000 years and has been accepted this idea, that was regarded as more authentic, more reliable than something that someone had the sort of pre-science scientific period thought up. They thought this authentic, this length of period of being around this environment culturally, therefore it was authentic because it had been around for so long. So this is why those things continue, just like the religious beliefs continued, simply because they've been around for longer than other beliefs. It's a sort of cultural behavior, particularly amongst religious types.
More garbage.
Well, the Kepler's second law and how that's destroyed by the moon. But that
what
the fuck?
It's not.
Does he even know Kepler's second law?
Yeah, that's funny. I actually read that. Good.
Let's continue.
That's for a different time. Kent.
Stop. As soon as he uploads another one of those videos, we will debunk it here.
So,
done. Also, you're still presenting Sly.
Oh fuck. Okay, there we go. There we go.
There we go.
Sunlight is reflected by the moon to the Earth. So between 3 and 12% of the sun's heat should also be reflected. But let's do another.
Oh
my
fuck's
God.
sake.
That's not how that works.
Materials have
Since when
different
can you
properties
reflect
on
heat?
what type of radiation they absorb and they reflect.
There's
Something
something
that
called
is-
emissivity, for fuck's sake.
Something that reflects infrared light, for example, doesn't have to reflect visible light, and the other way around.
But if it's a black, is it a black body? Effectively, the moon.
No.
No.
For example, take a look at a black plastic bag. Actually, those things are black, but they are pretty much transparent when it comes to infrared light.
Yep.
Let's look up and see what moon rock how moon rock is to infrared light.
Here's actually his claim first completely.
Did you happen
Other
to notice
sources
that
here
his
we
whole
can
video
get.
is actually just whataboutism? It's not actually proving flat Earth.
In a way, yeah.
If I recall correctly, he's also putting in a little bit of Pascal's wager in there.
Okay, let's
Might be
continue.
wrong, but
Guys,
People will say, well, there's no anecdotal evidence. They always have some excuse why the thermometer wasn't right, or you didn't have the right conditions. You allowed such and such to interfere with it. So we actually did an experiment, me and Dave in Wales. We did candles. We lit candles, and we had half of the candles exposed to moonlight, and half of them were not. And what happened was there was a little partition here. Moonlight was allowed to hit one side and not the other. Both were indoors, so they had the exact same conditions. We show it out perfectly here, exactly what it was. We have one side over here where moonlight was allowed to strike and one side where moonlight was not. And guess what? We got all kind of amazing results. And it was
Question.
actually contrary.
yep.
Back up a little bit to where he was actually showing the photograph of the candles. Right there.
I was about to say
Yeah.
they look pretty much identical.
Well, no. Forget all that. That's supposed to be on one side of a border. Move your mouse directly up. You see that shadow?
Yes.
That's not a partition blocking moonlight from one side.
Oh dear.
Anyway.
You mean he doesn't know how to construct proper controls? No.
Couldn't
Well,
fucking construct
color-
cardboard.
Purple.
Not the other. Both were indoors, so they had the exact same conditions. We show it out perfectly here, exactly what it was. We have one side over here where moonlight was allowed to strike and one side where moonlight was not. And guess what? We got all kind of amazing results. And it was actually contrary to what you would think, Kent. We see moonlight causes fire to actually burn hotter, and sunlight dampens.
What? Yes.
Wait a minute.
I think he just
Wait.
misspoke. Is it possible?
Huh?
I think he just misspoke. He meant to say
No,
that he thinks
no.
that moonlight is actually cooling it down.
No.
Let's hear it again.
They honestly believe that the moonlight both cools things down and increases bonfires.
I think
Okay,
that's what he was
let's
saying.
try
yeah.
that. Let's try that again.
And guess what? We got all kind of amazing results.
Hey, pause this.
And it was actually contrary to what you would think, Kent. We see moonlight causes fire to actually burn hotter, and sunlight dampens fire. So you can
Damn.
take a look at this.
That was not misspeak. That he did
No,
not
it's
misspeak.
not misspeaking. Eric Dubay makes the same argument.
What? So they're literally saying that moonlight increases fire, but
And sunlight decreases it.
I would love to hear the reasoning for that shit.
I think it's what they have on screen.
Well, and
Yeah.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Depending on what you are using to measure the temperature of fire, you actually can have an error between the two, because a lot of your really cheap IR non-touch thermometers are actually detecting a difference along the path, not an actual temperature. So yes, you will see a greater difference between the air and a bonfire at night than you will during the day.
See, something tells me they're not actually testing anything with any equipment. They're just sitting out in the cold of night and having the actual bonfire feel warmer than when it's burning when they're out in the sun.
Oh yeah, same principle. Because the difference between the air temperature and the radiated heat from the fire is going to be greater at night. Wow.
So is
Holy
it
fucking
possible,
shit.
is it possible that we actually have a flat earther in the side chat apart from Multi-Tom-Tom? A guy called, damn it, what's his name again?
Brandon Toy.
Brandon Toy.
Oh god, that pillock. Right.
So I
don't even know what a pillock is, but it doesn't sound good.
So Brandon, what I would suggest, if you want to join this hangout, you can after we've done all the points that Mr. Thrive and Survive is putting up here. So I actually invite you. If you want, I can even mute the rest of the people in here, so it would be practical.
We would be happy to mute ourselves. You don't have to mute us.
Actually, he said a second ago, Cliff Notes to this hangout. We know all the answers. You all are idiots.
So if you know all the answers, why don't you
that's
teach
not
us?
untrue.
Even though I asked him what was the altitude to the sun and the moon, and he couldn't answer it.
So wait, if he says that he has all the answers, then he must be one of the few flat earthers that claims to have a model, right?
Yeah.
No, he's saying we have. He's saying that about us.
Yeah, I think he was mocking us.
Yes,
Maybe.
he's saying that we have all the answers.
Yeah,
and that
okay.
they're idiots.
Got it.
Well, see, okay, so that's the thing. I don't think anyone has ever claimed that they have all the answers, but when the talking points all remain the same, no matter how many times it is explained to them, then yes, we do have answers to all the objections.
We have all the answers to the currently raised objections by flat earthers. We don't have all the answers to all the problems in the universe.
Because they all repeat the same ones, no matter how many times it's been explained to them, not just that they are wrong, but how they are wrong.
Yeah,
I would just like to meet a flat earther who has answers.
Yeah.
So, Brandon, I'll give you the link as soon as we are done with the debunking of Eric Dubay. Mr. Thrive and Survive.
It might as well be.
Maybe like 20 minutes or so if we hurry up. Can you wait that long? Would that be fine? And I mean, let's continue.
Yes, I'll actually put a card here so you can watch this 16-minute video and maybe educate yourself. And here are scientists that actually have done these experiments themselves and totally agree with our results.
Stop. Michael?
What's the source for that? Go back to the sources.
Yeah, I was about to say, Michael or anybody else, do you currently have connection to your university library?
I can get that.
Because if I started here, I will probably be thrown out of the hangout.
You know what? Let me see if I have access to mine.
Or
I should.
So let's just pick a random one.
These are pretty fucking old.
Gio, I thought you were going to say if my university caught me looking up this kind of dumb shit, they'd kick me out.
No.
I thought that's what he meant.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like I said,
the problem is just whenever I try to access my university network, all
This is from
communication stuff that I have,
1979.
it's from 1980s, yeah.
Skype, Discord, everything just blocks out for a few seconds, and I don't want to risk this with this hangout.
Holy shit! The fucking So the sub or the headers are fun here though. General safety considerations, and then the next one is liquid nitrogen cannon.
Okay.
This is his evidence.
Exploding soap bubbles.
I'm very
which
intrigued.
one is EST? Brand
Model Geyser.
Central European Summer Time. I have no idea what EST is. Can you give me that to me in UTC maybe? It's currently 1724 UTC.
It's +4.
Okay.
Yeah, for us, Gil, Eastern Daylight Savings Time, the one that we're using now, that's 6 hours. This is standard time, so that's 1 hour less. 5 hours then.
Why don't we all just communicate in UTC? It would be so much easier.
Yes, please.
That's why.
Or better yet, CEST.
Oh, Riley is in the side chat.
No joy.
Let's continue.
Well, is it the real one?
Yeah, it looks like it's the real one.
Yep, it is.
So
this is the guy who doesn't know what a force is, God's sake.
whoever.
Well, that's nothing new.
I'm trying to find anyone
with meridians.
Yeah, I'm trying to find.
Or whoever has the links open to the papers, don't share them. I think sharing them would be against the copyright.
Well,
if you find any reference to Moonlight or something, just share them with us.
I found the second one, and the effects of surface tension on temperature on non-linear on nonlinear dynamics of the dripping faucet.
Well, and in the web page he refers to at the bottom there, the site doesn't contain the mention of moon or lunar.
Correct. Yeah, it doesn't mention
No.
moon at all in that thing at the bottom.
So I think we have to
curious
actually
heat
go through
convection,
every one
though.
of those and show how he's wrong on them later.
You know what? I'm pretty sure now that he just put this stuff up to seem legit, hoping that no one would actually try and search for it.
So, okay, there is one about heat convection. Maybe that's what he's referring to.
Maybe.
But no, that wouldn't like that's like this
No,
would
that's
be
the
a matter of heat convection. This would be
No,
a
no, no,
matter of
it's
the of the
radiation.
actual photons.
Yeah, it's radiation. It's in interaction of photons. It's essentially laser cooling, right?
Yeah, but in order for sunlight, which is what he's claiming, to be able to cool fires down, you ought to have some kind of laser cooling, which the sunlight is not capable of, or sunlight would have to remove energy from things it hits, which would result in us not being able to see it because our vision depends on the energy being added.
Guys, I'd actually like to hurry this up because of this flat earther guy that I'd like to invite in here afterwards.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, just a small announcment. When we are done with Mr. Thrive and Survive, we'll actually stop this hangout and I'll start a new one for him using what was it called? OBS, for the simple reason that I don't want to risk to get sniped or something, just as a precaution. So let's just continue with this and finish it for the last 3.5 minutes.
Experiments themselves and totally agree with our results. Peer reviewed. So again, in your model, Kent, how can you explain the impossible? How moonlight appears to not only not heat surfaces, but cool surfaces. You can also look up how bacteria is killed by sunlight, but bacteria grows in moonlight and different.
Yeah, because moonlight won't contain that deadly amount of UV radiation.
Well, there's two things. There's the amount of UV, and then there's the temperature.
Yeah, but bacteria just grows anyway, doesn't it? I mean, if it's got some food to eat, it can grow and do whatever it likes.
Not necessarily.
No,
It depends on the type of bacteria.
Well, there's that, and there's the. It's more complicated than just having food because there's plenty of food for them in a glass of marmalade, but because of all the sugar content.
Yes, exactly. But I'm saying if the right environment for it to grow, it doesn't need to be light at all.
No,
it's not an essential. It's not a necessary requirement. They could grow in moonlight or sunlight if they got the right environment. So it's absolutely irrelevant to say, "Oh, look, there's bacteria that doesn't grow in sunlight, and there's bacteria that doesn't grow in moonlight." That's utterly irrelevant because we know there's bacteria will do both, and it's not a necessary feature to have that.
Aspects like that show you all the different ways that moonlight is different from sunlight.
You know what we should do? Get a big-ass magnifying glass, like a really big-ass one, and then light a candle with moonlight. Is that possible?
You can only,
in theory, it would be possible if we had a fuck ton of magnifying glasses and mirrors.
Remember, you can only ever get focusing light on something with a magnifying glass. You can only ever make that light as hot as the surface of the object you are of that light. So it depends. So moonlight, the surface temperature of the moon, has to be high enough for us to light the candle in order to do that.
But it is during full moon, isn't it? It's like 300 degrees or something.
Yeah, if it's 300 degrees, then theoretically you could light moonlight if you have
not necessarily lighting something. It would be enough to melt something.
You could, I mean, you might be able to get some generic PLA and melt that.
That's not hard to do.
No, but it has a much lower melting temperature. Like if you could melt it by that, you would at least show that there's some temperature to it.
Well, even
melt it
better,
around 200 degrees.
Just standard styrofoam and use a Sharpie or whatever.
Okay, so I was a little bit wrong. The maximum temperature apparently on the surface of the moon is 27 degrees Celsius.
No,
Okay,
I don't think you're right, Micro. Is it Micro suggesting about the temperature? If you could get all the light energy that was being radiated from the moon, you concentrated in one spot, that would definitely be hotter than the individual photons. Because remember, photons don't have a temperature; they just have energy-related frequency. But the energy being dispensed to a particular spot is just simply dependent on the number of photons and the frequency of the photons. So if you manage to collect all the photons from the moon and put them in one place, that's going to be delivering quite a lot of energy, even though the individual frequency of those photons.
I actually remember the source of it.
Don't think you're right there. But I'm not. I'm only going to go with an 80%. I'm sure. I'm so saying, but I think I'm right because the only thing a photon has is its energy and the number of photons. So that's the amount of energy you will deliver. Energy. You're talking about the energy of an individual photon. You're talking about the photoelectric effect, I think, is what you're saying. But the energy dispensed is dependent on the energy of each photon and the number of photons. And so if you can collect together all those photons from the moon and put them in one place, that's definitely going to deliver a lot of energy. But the individual photons are not going to have an.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Let me see if I have a source for it.
Right. I'm getting more sure that I'm right now. I'm up to 95% sure I'm right.
That means you're wrong, though.
Thanks, Housley.
Okay, let's continue in the meantime.
However, I will grant you it's not a simple search to find it. At least in 2015 it wasn't. It was like science was trying to hide the fact that moonlight was different than sunlight. So
is he making the good old argument that science is trying to hide something for the simple reason that accessing articles most of the time isn't free?
Can I just throw something in here? I did the moonlight experiment. It is cooler on the moonlit side. So what? All that means is that the moon does not produce its own light.
If going off of memory, I think the spectra is nearly identical, but the intensity is much lower. Though that's just off of memory.
Well, I know is that something that generates its own light.
That would make the moon a black body.
Something that generates its own light would generate its own heat. And so therefore the light of the moon would actually be, if self-generated, warmer than the darkness. Period. And if I might throw something out here, seeing that Riley seems to want to ignore my responses to him, if Ranty has something that is so wonderful and so great, go over to my channel. I have a brand new video out right now saying that basically tomorrow night is an open mic, seeing that the other guys apparently seem to have ran from the debate. Have Ranty take out the challenge. I'll debate Ranty.
By the way, Sly, why the heck did you invite Oakley?
I didn't invite Oakley.
Yeah, you put him into your list.
Well, I put him all the way down at the bottom of the list because not only is he a worthless human being, he's also worthless intellectually.
That's true, actually.
Which is also why I put the big red X across him.
Okay, more garbage.
That's another one right there. And that leads to the next related question. Okay, Kent, and anybody else that wants to respond to this, let's see how intellectually honest you want to be with yourself, with your own senses. Let's take a look at the different color spectrums. Now, the moon...
It's spectra.
Everybody will agree, especially those who are into artistry and professional photography, different things like that. They all agree that the moonlight is silver, which comes from the blue part of the spectrum.
Wait, did he just say the moon is silver?
Yeah.
It's not. It's actually redder than the sun because it's cooler.
Yeah, no,
But Micro, that would be the case if it was irradiating from itself, but it's not.
No. Moonlight and sunlight have different color temperatures.
Well, that's what he's saying.
Well, yeah. So moonlight, but because moonlight is the color temperature of moonlight is lower than that of sunlight, it appears more red. You just can't see it.
Are you sure about this?
Yeah, it looks more white to me. Looks as though only the
Yes, it looks more white, but that's because when
you're in the dark.
Well, your eyes didn't do the full spectra. Right?
I'm looking in the dark.
No. It's actually it's pretty simple. It's because when you see the moon, you are not using you're
using rods instead of cones or something.
Well, you're actually using both of them, but you're mostly relying on the rods. That's why.
You're not allowed to know these things, Micro.
I only know I know them because I did a video for R&D that's coming up at some point.
Cool.
I'm a little vague on this, but on a full moon, no clouds at all, the color temperature coming from the moon should be around 5,400 to 5,600 Kelvin, I think.
Okay.
I'm in no way sure of it, but I think so.
Hold on, let me look up my script.
If we had SciDK in here, I'm sure he would be able to.
Hold on, I looked up the numbers. I have my script.
Let me the sun is around 57, isn't it? Or is it 55?
Yeah. I mean, obviously,
the sun, no.
If the sun is irradiating, if the sun is irradiating the moon, and the moon is reflecting back to Earth, then the color temperature for the moon should be approximately the same one as the one of the sun, right?
No. Geo, as you said earlier, you talked about the black trash bag thing.
Yes.
Where the same goes for the moon as well in terms of color reflection, so to speak. I'm not saying it's a color filter, but the sun has one color temperature. We can agree on that.
Yes.
It's 5,600 Kelvin.
The moon light, so to speak, has a different color temperature.
Which is 4,000.
Because it doesn't reflect all the different wavelengths linearly.
Yeah, I have the numbers here. The sunlight has a color temperature of around 5,600 degrees Kelvin, while moonlight is around 4,000.
All right, that means that the moon will absorb more blue light. Right?
I don't know. I just know that's the numbers.
No, the moon
is actually 4,000.
The more red and yellow
the numbers I found.
Lights, because it reflects blue, so to speak.
Well, so the color temperature represents
a color.
Yeah, but no, the point.
It doesn't actually represent the actual temperature. Color temperature represents what the object. The
object that's irradiating.
How hot?
Actually, hang on.
It represents how hot you would have to make an ideal black body.
Yes,
in order to get light.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
Okay, so that means that when you have a black body that has less of a temperature, it emits less blue light, and the spectrum is, or the maximum of the emission is shifted to the red emission lines. Okay, great. That means that if the moon has a color temperature of 4,000 Kelvin, that means that it must be able to, or it is reflecting more red light that's coming from the sun than it is reflecting blue light that's coming from the sun.
Presumably, right? Yes.
Yeah. For reference,
what I was saying.
A run-of-the-mill candle, lit, of course, has a color temperature of about 2,700 Kelvin, just for a reference.
Yeah, it's very orange in appearance.
Orangey, yeah. Let's continue.
Also, I put my source in the.
Yes, I'm just looking at it actually, Micro. And yes, I must admit, I'm dropping now from 95% down quite a bit.
And that's written by an actual physicist.
Yeah, it does look. I must admit, it does look well written, and it's actually quite complicated. Some of the thoughts in it are quite complicated.
Yes.
I'm down to about 50% now.
You can't start a fire with moonlight. Okay. So.
Yeah, it looks that.
Oh, that's a shame.
People more clever than I am certainly seem to be writing about you can't. So.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna take credit for this. I know enough. I'm suck at physics. I just remember reading that.
Yeah, it's a good source. I'll go through it, Michael. Thanks for that.
Interesting.
Well, it's a good site in general. It's quite fun.
Okay.
I just got a tip from Alan Evans in the chat. the lunar photos that he's been taking, and he knows his shit, by the way, shows an approximate color temperature of about 4,000 Kelvin.
Good. Then I don't have to redo my script. And voiceover and stuff. I'm glad for that.
Yeah.
No, you're wrong on something else. You need to redo everything.
Well,
Guys, we need to continue.
yeah.
Well, the sun over here, everybody will agree, the sun is yellow.
Stop.
No,
not
Actually,
really.
no.
the sun is actually
white.
slightly green.
The sun looks yellow because of our atmosphere.
Yes, and in
in
space
space it looks
pretty
more
much
white.
glowing white.
Yeah, but it only looks white because it's so high intensity. If you cooled it, if you lowered the intensity, it would actually look slightly green, because that's where it peaks.
Okay. Well, yeah, 5,600 Kelvin. What's the maximum of the emission lines then? I'll continue in the meantime.
Which means it comes from the red part of the spectrum.
No.
Huh?
Now,
It's
how
yellow,
can this
therefore
be
it
in
comes
your
from the
model?
red part. What?
If this is reflecting this, how do we get silver from the blue spectrum from here? Now, I will tell you, I have done research. I am not into
No, you
different
haven't.
colors, what makes it. But from what I understand, to take something yellow light or from the red spectrum and get it to come out in the blue spectrum, the reflector or the surface of the moon in this case would have to be a deep dark green color. Then the reflection coming off would be a silver or blue spectrum light. So explain that in your model, please.
Assumption, absorption rates. They're a wonderful thing.
So here's a kicker for you. What's his face?
Thrive and Survive.
Thrive and Survive. You can, if you buy a very warm light bulb, let's say 2700 Kelvin, right? And you put that in your room, you know what's going to happen? A yellow bulb will still be yellow, a black TV will still be black, and a blue bulb will still be blue.
Mm-hmm. But it wouldn't be as bright blue as it would if it was irradiated with white light at the exact same intensity.
Yeah, I mean, what you can't do is what he's implying is convert red light into blue light, which is what he seemed to be implying. I mean, what you
but
you
he
can remove
doesn't
some
seem
of the
to be
red light to make it
understanding-
more. Sorry,
He doesn't seem to be understanding that the sun is still irradiating blue light. It's just less than...
that's right. You're just simply taking yes,
Um,
it's not re-radiating. So it's not but you can't convert red light into blue light without an input of energy. So you can, but obviously something can appear more blue. If you've got white light coming from and you remove the red light, then it would appear more blue. But you can't have a conversion of red light into blue light, which is what he
at least not on the moon. You could presumably make things that will do that.
Yeah, I mean, this is why. Yes. So, for instance, you can get something. If you shine very bright UV light at something, you can make it something appear.
Well, I can actually give you. I can actually give you examples
there are materials
of,
that will excite that will be excited if you shine infrared light on it. For example, I have a testing card at the size of a credit card.
I don't think you can do things like shine UV light at something and then it will appear in the visible. But I don't think you can up the unless it's something like a laser or something. You can't up the energy.
Yeah, you can make.
No, even in laser you can't do this. In order to get a laser, you actually have to have an input source which has a higher energy per photon than the laser has.
Okay, there is a technique called two-photon microscopy, in which you send the very intense pulses of lasers at certain pigments. You use it because you can if you cross the two lasers, they will all so the laser beam has about half the energy needed to activate the substance you have, the fluorescent thing you have in the chemical you have, and the only way they cross that, because they're so high intensity that you essentially is able to hit the same atom or same molecule with two with 2 photons at once, so it's the equivalent of hitting it with a higher wavelength.
Well, you can't change the wavelength. You can each photon.
This is a
you know what?
This is a way of using, for example, red light to get something to emit blue light. I have literally done this.
That's 2 separate energy. That's 2 separate events. You excite the atom or whatever you're looking at once, and then you're exciting it with a second photon again.
No, you're exciting it at the same time. The whole trick is that they hit at the exact same time. That's why you need high intensity lasers.
Okay, I'm actually not familiar with this one.
Actually, I have a couple of powerful, semi-powerful green handheld laser pointers. As a fact, these laser pointers do not contain a green laser. It's a red laser. The light coming from that laser module is being blasted into a crystal, a ruby. I can't remember exactly what it is, and that element, that crystal or whatever it is, it will be excited, and it will change. It'll frequency. It's a kind of frequency doubling effect.
Right, that's very tricky. Yes, it's a very, very tricky thing to do. As I was describing earlier, you can't do it directly. I think yes, there are ways of exciting things.
I think it's hang on. I think it's called a diode pumped solid state laser.
Right.
That's a cool name. Diode pumped.
Okay, guys. I'm just gonna end this hangout. I'll invite you to the other one as soon as I started.
Well, invite him first and find out if he wants to do it on one or.
Brenton Toy, do you have any method of actually communicating with you? Because I'll have to send you the link. I prefer either Skype or Discord.
Or Twitter. Yeah, I mean,
or Twitter, that's a possibility.
I don't mind it if you used my Twitter account to send a DM.
So Brenton, can you send me a DM somewhere so I can send you the link afterwards?
Did you say diode pump solid state laser? Was that what you were talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, Micro. Could you, while I'm searching for something else, could you look at Brainiac 75 channel? Try and see if you can find the video where he explains how this stuff works. The green lasers, how they actually become green. I know he made one last year, I think it was.
I will look that.
Yeah.
Okay, send me Twitter.
Well, he has quite a few things on lasers.
Okay, so what we're gonna do, guys? I'm just gonna stop this hangout, but please, guys, stay in this call because I can still use this call to actually continue streaming. As long as I use OBS afterwards.
Yeah.
So, Brenton, I'll send you a message. Okay. So, first of all, I actually have to end this. So, thank you everybody for watching. If you're keen on watching the next hangout with the Flat Earther, just stay here. Check my channel page. I'll start the next hangout in 10 minutes max, I guess. Otherwise, if MrThriveAndSurvive does decide to upload a second part of this video, I will debunk this in the future. I just don't know when, probably next week, and I don't know. But otherwise, thanks for watching. See you.